Howdy, folks. Welcome to the Unqualified Film Bros podcast. We're heading down under to Australia for a film shoot that takes place inside a movie. It's a horrible beginning. We're talking about The Fall Guy tonight. Super fun, super Ryan Gosling, super Emily Blunt, super Aaron Taylor Johnson. All right, I'm talking too much. Gentlemen, what do you think?
I mean, like everyone has sort of said, it's a really good movie. It's really fun. Um, if you're looking for a critically acclaimed movie, I can't say it's this, but overall, for what it's looking to achieve, it really does a great job. I mean, this is a love letter to stunt performers, and it has a nice little, romance in there and some comedy in there. But it does a great job doing what it's aiming to do. It's like the other side. David Leitch co-directed John Wick with Chad Stahelski, and I was thinking about this. Chad Stahelski very much loves to show the stunts, at least in John Wick movies. David Leitch is very different. He's very stylistic. Atomic Blonde. I mean, we did Bullet Train on this, and then this one. They're definitely much more stylized action movies. Um, but he's clearly got a lot of passion for this, given that he is a stunt guy or was a stunt guy, and you can tell that in the movie. There's a lot of really authentic moments that happen on movie sets, and just overall, I feel like well, they're not realistic characters, the Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling. It's a fantastic characterization of that kind of ideal stuntman and the first time director.
Yeah,
I think it's great.
the fact that she goes from being, like second AC to $100 million blockbuster director in
Yeah,
2 years.
I have no idea what's going on there. I mean, there's like
That's
some
my
Well,
things
only
here and there,
it gets
that's my only
explained at
real
the
gripe
end.
with the film.
huh?
It gets explained at the end. Gail says to her, "I hired you because you're malleable. Like I can mold you. I can tell you what to
Uh,
do." Like
yeah,
that's the explanation, but it's like a throwaway comment. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of got that. I don't know, like nothing of my criticisms really hurts the movie. There are things here and there like that. There's a few contrived things. There's probably like a few 5 minutes where he's the whole boat chase is really cool, but there's also like a hint of almost cliche like romance in that, which I thought was going to hurt the movie if it had continued that, and then it just like brings it right back into the thing it was doing really well, which is the sly, cool guy, stunt guy performer. Um, I mean, there's not like a lot of things advanced metaphorically and things. It's just finding cool ways to put on stunts and an enjoyable ride for the audience. Um,
it's
there's
fun.
nothing wrong with that.
It's well presented fun with little substance.
Yeah, and
It's like the
again,
perfect
there's really
start
nothing
of
wrong
summer
with that.
blockbuster.
If you're
Yeah.
gonna do an action movie, do an action movie. There's so many action movies I see these days that are trying to like just insert in a bunch of useless bullshit. Like the King Kong versus Godzilla movies. There's a bunch of like human storylines and stuff. Who cares? They came to see Godzilla fight King Kong. Like nobody cares. And this is it's a good romance. It's there for the moments that it needs to be, and it's not for a lot of the others. It doesn't take over the movie. It's just a nice background to give these characters some sort of semblance of a goal, to work towards, to get back together, to work out the differences. Um, but yeah, I think it's good. I think it's really well done. Is it challengers? No, but again,
Yeah, because it's
just
fucking
because I
better.
think Challengers is a critically, a really good movie, it doesn't mean a movie like this doesn't have a lot of merit. Like I love dumb action movies from the 80s. Um, and it's not like they're dumb, like they're well done. Um, They just have their own niche. And they bring up the Oscars for stunts, and I do agree that there should be some appreciation for stunts. I love every other category, production designs and things like that, but these guys literally get hurt to make a movie. I mean, we should give them an award.
The just speaking to that, the Oscars, they've shown a willingness to adjust their categories. There was the short-lived idea to add a like blockbuster box office achievement, which nobody wanted. But
That's a
then there was
stupid idea, though,
they
because the achievement has already been put into your bank
right.
account.
It's
You can
concrete
buy
numbers.
something with it.
Also, just because
but
a movie makes $1 billion doesn't make it good. Like,
That's true.
Avatar: The Way of Water. All right. But no, they consolidated best sound mixing and sound editing into just best sound. Starting with next year's ceremony, they're adding best achievement in casting. So they're working with maybe not the people who make the movies, but they're working with audience members to see what kind of awards we would want honored and or awarded. And
Yeah.
if
I
we
just
keep
feel like
pushing for stunt recognition, then it's gonna happen.
it's long overdue, though, right? Like,
Agreed.
stunt performers have long been in movies and long have risked their lives and died in movies. Um, and yeah, I mean, unless you're a cinematographer on an unfortunate Alec Baldwin set, there's really no other role that you risk your life and you will possibly die doing. It's pretty rare,
that was
and
crazy.
yet they do.
That was crazy.
It's
We could do an entire episode talking about everything that's happened with the production of Rust, but I think we'll wait until the movie actually comes out.
But yeah,
It's
I mean,
coming out
that's
like
I don't know. I genuinely I run stories on it in my newscasts all the fucking time, and I don't know if it's gonna be released. Everyone
I
will
hope
go
it
see that
does.
movie though.
I hope it does for the sake of just like I get it, but so much has gone on, right? Like they put so much into this
Yeah.
emotionally and
I'm
outside
I'm
of
always
the
look. I'm always going to go on the side of release the movies. Like Chad Stalansky, we were talking about. He finished The Crow for Brandon Lee. Brandon Lee died on that set, but those are the last images of acting that he actually did. So it's always about appreciating them in some way.
Mhm.
It's not just about one person whenever you're doing a movie,
Though
which is why
it would be probably right for the producers of Rust to dedicate the film to Helena Hutchins in her memory.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure they will. They would be.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
I mean, the difficult issue is just the legal stuff that's still going, and so I'm sure they won't make any final decision until that's at least looking like it's going to be wrapped up, if not already wrapped up.
So back to the Fall Guy.
True.
Well, I mean, it is part of it. It's like the man kicked his stunt double and he died. These are things that happen in film, even though that happened in a party that could have happened on a stunt set. Um, Again, like I mean, this dude was obviously a piece of shit because he tried to kill Ryan Gosling's character. But those things do happen. Like Deadpool 2, I remember there's a big story of the stunt driver that
Yeah.
died, and it's like really
Also a David
unfortunate.
Leitch film.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm sure he felt that one, but it's an unfortunate thing, and they should be given some sort of recognition more than they are
Absolutely.
given because they're the only ones that really risk their lives.
Yeah.
I should say, a cinematographer on Alec Baldwin said, or an actor on John Landis' set in the Twilight Zone movie, because John Landis took out 3 people at once.
All right, if you're gonna start mentioning every person who has died on every film set ever,
I'm not. I'm just mentioning that is probably the worst Hollywood set accident of all time.
I don't know,
Two,
Brandon Lee is pretty
no,
high up
no,
there.
no, no, no. All right. Vic Morrow got decapitated along with 2 kids at the
Yeah.
same instance. John Landis got brought to charges of manslaughter, and people went to jail
Okay,
for like
withdrawn for
5
not
years.
knowing my history.
You got to look it up. By the
I
way,
will. I will after the episode.
Vic Morrow is Jennifer Jason Leigh's dad. I didn't know that.
Oh,
Hmm.
okay.
Yeah, her
Learn
dad
something new
got
every day.
decapitated on a set with
Yeah,
John Landis, the
that's
National Lampoon guy. Hollywood's a crazy place.
yeah.
Which again, brings us back to the Fall Guy, where there are actually hints of, insane things going on in this movie.
Yeah, like
Uh,
stopping production for hours to have a back and forth between a first-time director and a last-minute stand-in stunt
all
guy.
right, it's not hours. It was like 5 minutes, relax.
It was longer than that.
They were just venting. It's fine. That was a great scene, though. I love
No,
the
and this
alien that
this
came
movie
in.
is filled with great scenes.
I think I had a similar experience when I fell in love with my wife's sister.
Okay, okay, okay.
All right, enough of that. No, I mean it's got some great comedy. It really does.
And
It's
I
got the
think
action,
a
but the
lot of
comedy's tight.
a lot of that comes from Ryan Gosling because this
It's
man,
more than just Ryan
I
Gosling,
know,
though.
but if I could gush about Ryan Gosling for a second,
He's always good. He's a good
the
actor.
man, and we've known this since at least The Nice Guys, definitely before then. The man is a generational comedic talent trapped inside a leading man's body. And now with some of his more recent roles, Colt Seavers in The Fall Guy, Ken in Barbie, we're seeing him take these roles, these characters, and really lean into what he is becoming best loved for. It's movies like The Nice Guy. Everyone wants a sequel to The Nice Guys. And we haven't gotten one yet. But he was a Best Supporting Actor nom for his comedic chops in Barbie. You know, will he get an Oscar nom for The Fall Guy? Probably not. But he's still putting together this string of insane comedic performances. The guy has the
You
perfect
know,
combination of like charm and charisma, but also comedic timing,
you
and
know
it
who he
works
really,
so well.
you know who he really reminds me of.
Okay?
Uh, who does he remind you of? Anybody?
I mean, anytime I look in a mirror, but you know,
I don't know what you're going for, Ben. Who are you talking about?
He reminds me of Harrison Ford. He
That was not that was not the pull that I thought you were going for.
very much has the Harrison Ford down, where he's very charming
go on.
at times and just very sarcastic and ironic at other times. He's like a more subtle Harrison Ford, but he's definitely got that old school, movie star vibe to him. I mean, a lot of the leading guys could do comedy pretty well. He had to. But Harrison Ford has always been, a great like comedy guy.
Did
Even
you
Jack
just
Nicholson.
rewatch
Jack
Blade Runner
Nicholson also had.
2049?
No,
No, Harrison Ford, like it's I don't know, it's just like that I get it. That kind of humor it works, right? Because it
but it's
yeah.
about the cool guy being,
Yeah.
comedic. Uh, but Harrison Ford has tons of roles like that. I mean, look at American Graffiti. Like
Yeah.
he's always been that. I feel like he is the archetype for that kind of guy. And before that would probably be, I mean, for the cool guy, it was always like James Dean and stuff. But those guys were very serious. Harrison Ford had a lot of roles where he was like cool, but also very comedic. I mean, Han Solo's great, version of that, or Indiana Jones.
Mhm. His role in Shrinking most recently, I think, is also kind of in that same vein too.
I have not seen Shrinking.
Neither have
It's
I.
a TV show on Apple TV with uh
Jason Segel.
yeah, Jason Segel.
Oh, is that the Shrink show?
Yeah, it's
I
pretty
think I saw
solid. It's
the episode
fine.
where
The
Jason Segel was.
Shrink Show is called Shrinking. Who could have called that?
Well, I didn't know if it was like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, like he was actually shrinking.
Or like that Matt Damon movie Downsizing, where they
Yeah,
actually
look, it can mean anything. I really don't know. Yeah, I think I did watch the first episode where Jason Segel is just taking 1,000 pills from his thing and
insane.
singing to Billy Joel or something.
Yeah, it's kind of an insane show. It's like it's very
But
sweet
I
though.
was down with that. I was like,
Yeah.
episode 1, wow, that's me. Like I would definitely do that if I was depressed and being forced. Billy Joel's great. Anyway, back to the Fall Guy.
Yeah, we keep getting sidetracked, but we get some pretty good conversations out of it.
That's fine. I'm just
Um,
bringing it back, you know?
no, and that is appreciated. Do your thing. Um, but yeah, let's talk about Emily Blunt for a minute
Mm.
because she's had some comedic roles, but she was an Oscar nominee for a very dramatic role very recently. So, to turn right around and do something like Jody Moreno in The Fall Guy, it's a good show of range. I liked what we got from her.
What was the Edge of Tomorrow? She kind of reminded me of that. The like comedic serious, but also not serious. But yeah, Emily Blunt has definitely had a few comedic roles. I have to go back look through her filmography, but
Well, Devil Wears Prada. She kind of played like a
Yeah.
yeah,
satire
but that's
movie.
just like
Yeah.
that's kind of a crazy movie.
Yeah.
I thought it was more like Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise, that sort of dynamic. Tom Cruise is essentially a stunt guy anytime he enters a movie. But they
Yeah,
have they have a
Yeah.
similar like vibe going with, Ryan Gosling and her, which is just very cool, connected, but also they throw a lot of insults, comedic insults back and forth. Constant, sparring match, I guess, with
yeah.
banter.
I feel like what happens with a lot of romantic comedies is, and maybe this is just because I watched Anyone But You the other day, since I've seen The Fall Guy. But I feel like the guy and I feel like Anyone But You does a really good job of sort of counteracting this in its second and third acts. But I feel like a lot of romantic comedies, especially the ones from like 10, 15 years ago, have the guy be sort of this lovable goofball, and the girl is, more down to earth, more, you know, focused on the straight and narrow. And they sort of, not necessarily opposites attract, but sort of they sort of find a way to balance each other out. And with the Fall Guy, the romance that we get, and again, this movie focuses primarily on the action, but what we get between Colt and Jody when they're not together, and they spend a large chunk of this movie not together. Colt's on his own for a lot of the movie, and Jody's on set dealing with Gail and everyone else for a lot of the movie. Is Gail is allowed to sort of, not Gail, Jody is allowed to sort of play around and be real fun, be funny in her interactions. And I think by putting the romance as not necessarily on the back burner, but as sort of secondary to the action, it's allowed to develop in a really organic way where each of these characters have their own voice. They each have their own style of interacting with the world around them. And we're presented with two very funny characters independently that then form an entirely new kind of human when they're brought together. And it works. It works across the board for each of them and for both of them.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, the romance is it works. Um, there's not much more I can say about it. It's
Okay.
like those things are they're just they either do work or they don't. There's not that much involved in them. The charisma's good, the chemistry's good.
Chemistry is good, and a lot of the time, not a lot of the time, but many times, you get a romantic pairing in a movie. I'll give you an Emily Blunt example and a Jason Segel example, the 5-Year Engagement movie that the two of them did together about 10 years ago.
What? What? Is
There's
that
no
that's a
chemistry
movie?
there. What?
Romance movies are so weird. People will just say a movie, and it sounds like something auto-generated by an AI.
Go with
This
Ghosting.
movie kind of was. But the two of them, and
Oh,
I've
so
only seen it
AI
once.
can replace something.
It's also way too long. We'll talk about the Fall Guy maybe being a little long at the end, but 5-Year Engagement is probably about half an hour too long. And
I didn't
Jason
find it
Segel and
too
Emily
long.
Blunt don't have any chemistry. So,
Well, that's okay.
Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling do, so it works.
To be fair, Jason Segel doesn't have a lot of chemistry with a lot of people, so
We're getting Sarah Marshall as an all-time movie.
that's not fair.
He wrote it, and he's
Yeah,
great in it.
that's why that's not fair.
Fair.
He had the perfect conditions to be good.
He's great in things that he does himself.
Yeah.
Like what was that movie he did with Jesse Plemons and um, Lily Collins? Windfall came out last year or the year before. It's four
Oh yeah, I
actors,
never watched
four
that one.
actors in the entire film, three of them for most of the film. And Jason Segel wrote it, and he's very good.
Well,
I don't know if he has a writing credit on Shrinking, but I hear he's very good in that.
He is. I don't know if he's. I don't remember if he has a writing
he was
credit.
He's great on
entertaining.
How I Met Your Mother, and
I saw
he didn't write
one
that.
episode. He was entertaining. Um, though he
So
was
the
just
Fall
yelling
Guy,
at people. Yeah, so the Fall Guy, I'm running out of things to say, to be honest. It's a really fun movie. There's lots of great stunts.
what's your favorite
That
stunt, Ben?
it
It's
would have
something you
failed if
gotta,
they didn't have good stunts. Like
huh?
it would have failed completely if it didn't have good stunts,
Oh yeah.
especially with David
Also,
Leitch being the director. Like if it didn't have good stunts and it's about a stunt guy and it's directed by a former stunt guy and it doesn't have good stunts, fail. It's a failure of a movie.
that's fair.
What was your favorite
Though I
stunt,
do
guys?
favorite stunt. Uh, oh, the boat. Jumping the boat into the explosion. Miami Vice.
Mine's not a
Uh,
stunt, but I like my favorite scene overall, I think, was when they did the split screen, um, and they mirrored everything. That was just I thought it was like a good mix of like it just made it like kind of romantic. Like I had that feel of like we're bringing them together, even though they said it. Kind of took me out for a second, but then I was like, okay, I'm right back in.
Yeah, that scene was very meta, but
Mm-hmm.
also like winking at the audience, like we know what we're doing,
Yeah.
and we're gonna point it out so we can get away with it.
yeah, those things kind of like they're kind of dangerous, hit or miss.
Very hit or miss.
I don't
Yeah.
think it detracted. I think it worked fine,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
was yeah, it was an interesting choice.
It was. That's why I liked it. Like it wasn't the best. I don't think it was the best shot or the best scene in the
Yeah,
movie by any.
it was pretty cool to
But
see, and they did
yeah.
have good choreography going on where they were walking towards each other.
Yeah.
They clearly thought about it and why you would use it.
Yeah. Like that's why we
Yeah.
watch these movies, right? It's,
Mm.
a lot of these movies are not going to be critically acclaimed. They're not going to be, the film of the century or film of the
Yeah,
year.
I don't think David Leitch was trying to do any
They're
of
not, it doesn't, I mean,
that.
they're not going for that. We're going to go for entertainment. And I think this movie is more
That's
than entertaining.
well, I mean that's 100% like I think something that people fail to realize is you can't do everything in a movie. If you want to do an action movie, you have to do an action movie. You can't, do a 50-50 action movie and then throw in something that's like, well, I want this movie to be, critically good and this and that. And then you just sort of divide the entire movie. It no longer works together because it's two separate ideas. This is a great action movie. Most of 80s action movies, very good.
Well,
Some recent action movies could be
this is based on 80s IP, which if you guys stuck around for the
Oh yeah,
post-credit scene, you'll see the cameos from our stars of the 80s TV series.
Yeah.
But
80s
speaking of the end of the film,
action
like
is the peak.
I don't think anyone's arguing with that, Ben. I think you hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah, but there's a
Um,
reason all the stunt guys like it. Also, they had like very little. I shouldn't say very little, but way less safety precautions. They did
it's a
some
different
insane
time
things,
40 years ago.
and I really liked the beginning montage of all the stunt guys doing their stunts, and it being actually them. Not like their face digitally replaced or whatever. They even had the longer take at the end with nobody, where the guy goes. It was good.
Yeah.
God, I hope YouTube gives me the option to have that image of you with the thumbs up as our thumbnail.
It's
Anytime
really
one of
hard.
us does, I don't know if you guys know this, but anytime one of us does something with our hands, it YouTube usually automatically populates a thumbnail, and it's usually something like that. Anyway, my favorite scene in the movie is just the catharsis of the ending. Like, yeah, it's a pretty simple story, but the way that they execute the the way that they nail Tom and Gail by using the stunt and by using the jump, working it into the movie. Like I don't know. A lot of people are saying that this movie goes on too long, that the ending is really sort of unnecessarily convoluted. I disagree. I think that the way that they had to sort of reach this conclusion of getting the evidence they need to put away both Ryder and Gale works. And it's this huge, gigantic, big synonyms action stunt piece. And it's awesome. I've said in the week since I've seen this movie, I've said it nails three things to get me to love it. Number one, it's a Ryan Gosling movie. I I really I enjoy him. I think he's great. Number two, it's an action comedy. Those are usually winners for me. Number three, it's a movie about making movies, which are 100% of the time winners for me. So this movie hits all three. Yeah, I loved it. It'll be in my top five at the end of the year.
Yeah, no, I very much. I got to rewatch. This is a very different movie, but it's a very good movie. The Stunt Man by Peter O'Toole. I got to rewatch that one.
You
There's
should.
some great. It's a very different one, but there are some great images of Peter O'Toole um, up on one of those directing things, directing arms, where he can like lower and he's just up there like God, yelling at everybody with the megaphone. I'm sure that David Leitch probably watched that movie and got some inspiration, but this is a much more stunt-oriented movie. But I just haven't seen that one in years. So watch this one, watch that
It's
one.
it's a very stunt oriented movie, but so much different from the way that John Wick is stunt oriented. I think
Yeah,
what you said about the difference between David Leitch and Chad Stahelski in their directorial styles really, really fits
yeah.
how these
It's
movies
not
are
just
presented.
this movie. It's definitely David Leitch the style for stunts. I mean, some stunt guys just like more stylistic stuff. The Matrix. Some stunt guys want to do much more like realistic action. Um,
And after
there's a lot of variable stuff with stunts. That's why I think it's got to be an award. There's so many different things, and it's their job to make it look good, and they do a lot of the time.
after Bullet Train and The Fall Guy, if we can get a David Leitch and Aaron Taylor Johnson partnership going, I am all like Sean Levy and Ryan Reynolds. I am all in if this partnership can be a thing.
Yeah. I'm not sure what Ryan Gosling will do. I think he has plenty of things he can do, so who
Yes, he
knows?
can. He is Kenough.
I know he
Um,
will not be doing any dark roles, though. He said that much.
I saw
yeah, no,
that.
No sequel to
Very,
Drive, I guess.
very sad. No more depressed Gosling. He's got to be happy for his kids.
Wind up. I don't think he does. I'm trying to see.
Um, just one more thing before we wrap up here. This movie's gonna bomb at the box office.
Yes, I did see that. I don't really know why.
It's because everyone wanted, you know, a big summer blockbuster, but they didn't want to pay to go see it. Everyone wanted something that felt new and not like recycle. I know it's based on intellectual
But like,
property
I'm
from
so
40 years ago.
confused. I swear. Um,
It made like 25 million domestically in its opening weekend, and it cost 120 million to make.
there's like Challengers is making all of its money back, even though it costs like a similar. It costs like 150 million. Challengers is doing really well. Well,
I
what
don't know
happened?
what went wrong with the marketing for this because it was Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt fresh off their Oscar campaigns.
They must have not done enough something. I mean, this is just very strange to me. Like everybody says, "Oh, I want to,
It's
original
fascinating
IPs."
because this is the first time
And this is an
I want to
original IP,
say
but it has been used in about 40 years and nobody knows what it is. So,
it's probably been 15, 20 years since the summer movie season, which starts generally first weekend of May, has started with something that isn't a Marvel movie or based on, previous IP, some adaptation of some story that everyone wanted. Harry Potter, 15 years ago. You know, this is the
or
first
last
time
year
in a
with
long
Crash
time.
Premium.
Yeah, this is
No,
the
nobody
first time
wanted
we're seeing
It made $300 million, or maybe more than that. Like that made so much money, and it was utter trash.
that.
This movie's gonna lose money. All right. Anybody watching this video, I don't know, the 6 viewers who watch this damn podcast, go
oh
see a fucking movie. Please, I beg of you, save the industry.
yeah, I think when you get a movie like this one that is so unabashedly fun and doesn't, it's not trying to be the next all-time great thinker movie that challenges something, your preconceived notions about the world. It's just a big movie with a lot of stunts, fun comedy, a good romance with good chemistry, a killer cast. We haven't even talked about Winston Duke, Stephanie Shu. We've
But
barely talked about Aaron Taylor Johnson and Hannah Waddingham. Like, go see this movie. It's so worth it to see it, even if you're seeing it in a small theater. I would recommend seeing it as big a screen as possible. Go see The Fall Guy, please.
It's literally worth it just for the stunts alone, but
yeah,
it's more to it than
see the
just
Fall Guy.
the
See
real story.
see
Like
any
it's
movie
written
that you're
well.
interested in theaters, please.
Support
You
movie
will get
theaters, support
trash if you
filmmakers.
don't.
Like, yeah, it's convenient to watch a movie on Netflix. Yeah, it's convenient to, third party stream new releases instead of going to a theater. But the experience of going to a movie theater, I mean, we do it every week, but like it's not lost on us, the experience of sitting in a dark theater watching a movie bigger than life in front of you. It's awesome.
I
It's
don't think the
so
industry is
so
quite
cool.
like it's not completely dead because I went to a 10:15 showing of Challengers last week and the theater was completely packed.
No,
10:15.
but that's what I'm saying. Like
Like
Challengers
but
actually
that's
had
yeah.
they had the advantage of having Zendaya and Mike Feist off of Dear Evan Hansen. And apparently that was enough. Nobody even knew. I heard so many people after Challengers, they're like, what was the slow-mo about? What was that? That was so weird. It was like there were like 13 teenage girls in that theater. A
That's
theater that
a
sits
little
probably,
young for challengers.
That is
I
a
don't
little
know.
young for theaters.
Maybe they had a guardian. Maybe they were older than 13. But they were talking like 13-year-old girls, okay? And that's all that matters. They had they did not go to see the movie because it was Challengers. They went to see it because the people in it.
Right. And
mean,
yet you
but why
can't
did
get people
Ryan
to go see
Gosling?
Ryan
When
Gosling
did
and
he
Emily
not
Blunt.
become not a box office star? Like what? I
I
just
don't know.
don't get it.
This
It's a,
this movie, it's gonna fall into the same category as The Nice Guys. People are gonna wonder why it failed, box office. Nobody went to see it, and then
I'm very
5, 10 years
confused.
from now, it's gonna be beloved, and everyone's gonna want a sequel.
Just what happened? Where are the people? And why are they angry like a year later?
Because they're the ones who don't show up,
Well, yeah,
and
they're
then
angry. It's like, why didn't nobody
refuse
support this? It's like, what? Did you
they
go see
refuse
it?
to blame
No.
themselves. And you know what? Since we're playing Funky Films next week, and I've got a day off, I'm gonna go see Fall Guy again.
Look, there's a lot of people on film Twitter, and I'm gonna be yelling at them because this movie's made like $50 million, and I can count the amount of people that is via ticket sales. And there are way more people on film Twitter. And they're always complaining. That's all they do. They're complaining. Where's the movies? Where are the good movies? They're
This is
not
one.
there.
This is
They're
one of
on
those good
Twitter.
movies.
They're complaining. Go see it. Get out there.
All right, you've heard
I
our
think we're
impassioned
missing that
pleas
to
for
the
the
half.
last 10 minutes.
Yeah, I was about to say we've just hammered that one in.
Hey, you know what? We're
I think they
passionate.
get the message. We've lost all 6 viewers at this point. They have
It's all right.
exited
They'll
out.
they'll they'll come back next week because we're playing Funky Films and Aiden's gonna be here. He's running the game and I'm gonna play. So be sure to join us for that. We'll see you next Friday for that. In the meantime, I don't even have to say it again. You know what we want you to do. You know where it's playing. Go. Good night.
Kill
Good night.
David Zaslav.
Good night.